What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It's your boy MM2K of StadiaDosage and PNTS Network back with another video. Okay, so here's what's going on. If you're listening to this, you're either listening to this as a member, because this is content that is replacing or filling the void, rather. I don't want to say replacing, but filling the void of there not being a My First Look this week. And the reason for that is if you follow my content, I got an LG C1 and I'm using it as a computer monitor, and I've been calibrating it, and it's been kind of a challenge, and that kind of took a lot of my focus to where I've done a lot of, on the front end, I wanted to get my cloud gaming together on the monitor first, and that was challenging and cumbersome. So once I got the cloud gaming aspect to look and work right on the monitor, I used the rest of the week to focus on native gaming, you know what I'm saying? Because I figured that would be easier, but it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. And I just Friday, I got this together. So that took away my time for my first week. And then all day Saturday, look, today's going to belong to my wife. I promised her late yesterday that, let me do this thing, Saturday checkup. Let me record it with the members. It's only going to take a couple hours, and it ended up taking 3.5 hours. So today belongs to my wife. But what I wanted to do early while she's on the phone talking is I wanted to discuss something very important with you guys that I think is very important for all of you to partake. If you're watching this video, likely by now, you've already seen my deep dive via Saturday Checkup, where we extensively went into the Business Insider article. We talked about the good, the bad, and the misleading. We chopped apart the trend that Business Insider has is bloviating and creating a scenario where you look at things and they're trying to create this aura that doesn't really exist. They've done it before with Stadia when it comes to indie games, and then that got debunked badly. They did it with Sony, and that got debunked badly, and now they're back around again with the ropes to do it with Stadia. No wonder why they got this paywall up. You know what I mean? They're trying to tantalize you with these crazy articles that at the end of the day just build up a lot of hype and murmur or whatever, but at the end of the day they just fizzle because they're not on the right side of the facts. We broke that down and we talked about, what was new in the article, which is interesting, where if you look at the new stuff, that I think the biggest thing to derive from that article was the fact that Stadia had 750,000 active. Now, this is according to the article, unless they worded it wrong. They said that Stadia has 750 monthly active users by the end of 2020. That doesn't mean Stadia had 750,000 total users. They used the word monthly active users. So what that meant is by the end of December, when they tallied up December's monthly active users, regardless of what was going on in any other previous months, they had 750,000 active users. Now, did they retain those active users? Were they able to grow to them? What's it at now? I don't know. We can only surmise. You know what I'm saying? We got great people like Jack Deslip that's breaking things down, and we can only surmise. With that being said, having 750,000 active monthly users was humongous. Now, with that being said, the platform, as far as the app is concerned, grew 550 or 650,000 people. So maybe it was at an active user base at the time of 100,000, and it just ballooned 600% just that particular month, and then in subsequent months it went back down. They did say retention was a problem, which we already knew that. You know what I'm saying? I knew that in 2020. A lot of you knew that in 2021 as we looked at different things. And Stadia kind of said that themselves in so many words in the SG&E closure letter that, look, we have never seen the success that we saw with Cyberpunk 2077, and then we realized maybe we're shortchanging ourselves by trying to focus on developing games and coming out with these quirky exclusives or whatever. Maybe what we should do is just try to get the AAA games that you guys want. Let's do that. And you don't come up with a strategy like that with your long-term strategy to be just indies. Maybe at first you have an issue getting the AAA games because maybe the publishers want you to either have more consistent monthly active users. B, they want more money because people like Jason Schreier came out and told the whole goodie bag of what you're paying people, and maybe you just wanted that to be a short-term thing. But now, because of articles like Jason Schreier that really serve no good, the people are expecting tens of millions for every single port, not to just build your game, but for a port. So yeah, that makes it cumbersome. You know what I mean, to get these AAA games. But I don't think, and those of us that are in the know don't even believe for 1 second that you make this major decision off of Cyberpunk 2077 and the AAA offerings that boosted up your rank so much in December. You then have a Stadia keynote where you announced that you're doing certain initiatives that hopes to pull more AAA development to the platform. But your long-term plan is just indies, cheap indies. That may be, you may have had to shift your focus there for the immediate, you know what I'm saying? And not all of your focus. You may have had to focus on them more for the immediate, because of the difficulties that you may be facing dealing with publishers on the AAA side. But that's a temporary thing. And by all intents and purposes, the stuff that I heard and the stuff that I've been told, which, like I keep saying, I keep stamping it with the irrefutable stamp, which is irrefutable, is that this article is way over the top and the aura that it's trying to present as atypical for Business Insider. And it cannot be taken at face value. It took me 3.5 hours to break that down. And I did it methodically or whatever. But Sunny Cloud Gaming does it perfectly in 12 minutes and 15 seconds. What am I talking about? This is his video. And normally I don't do this. I mean, I've done this before with Sunny because Sunny just creates great content. But normally I don't do this because you know how dealing with YouTube can be. You show a portion of someone's content. It gets misconstrued as you trying to, jump on some copyright stuff. The person got to approve it. If they're busy making other content or just living life, it's in limbo and all this other thing gets lost. But this video is very important. I think this is like one of those milestone videos in the history of the Stadia community. Like everybody that's a Stadian or that's interested in a platform or even is laughing. Like I went and before I went live, I dropped this in the DM with my dedicated device friends and I said, look, y'all gotta see this video. This ain't coming from little old me. You know what I'm saying? Y'all go back and forth, but this is coming from somebody with 22,000 subscribers. You need to watch this. This is a hell of a video. And I always feel that Sunny is authentic. I've seen Sunny attacked on Reddit because people are disgruntled with Stadia and they attack Sunny and they're like, does Sunny really have any vetting or any, or does he have any sources or whatever? And I can tell you who I don't have. This is just my take. Google is so tight-lipped about stuff. They're the hardest people to crack. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not even interested in Xbox. You know what I mean? But I get so much Xbox inside information and I look at that and I'm like, oh, wow, that was interesting. That came to fruition. And it's crazy. And then the same with PlayStation. I mean, I adore my PS5, but it doesn't get the spins that Stadia gets or even my PC gets at the moment. But I'm still glad that I have it. That being said, y'all get so much PlayStation, Xbox information. It's crazy. It's like they're like leaky faucets, like I said last night, like blown dams. But Stadia, they keep everything close to the vest. They do a very thorough job of making sure hardly anything leaks. But what I can say about Sunny, which I can tell about Sunny, is that I'm not really connected. I was just fortunate enough to where on a couple of occasions, people who were like on the front lines of this stuff passed some stuff along to me. So I don't even want to say I'm connected. Sonny is connected. My work really comes more from the investigative side. Me looking and finding stuff and digging and pulling stuff out. You know what I'm saying? Like we did with the Catherine Hassai video. Like we did last year, or not the video, but the interview. Like we did last year, or 2020 rather, where I told you guys that Stadia went up over 1,000%, and people were like, oh, that was our investigative work. But Sonny is connected as anybody that's doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shouldn't be done. I can tell because the little trickle bit of things that have been given to me, in parts I've already heard echoed from him prior. And in dealing with people, good people like my good brother, my good brother Randolph Thor, who is a big Xbox person, and he has his connections and stuff like that. And I really got to get together with Rand and chat it up with him. Even though he's totally Xbox and I'm totally something else. But I just love talking to people that have intimate knowledge about stuff and just picking their brain. But Rand is one of those people that Sonny reminds me so much of. You know what I mean? He got his information. He may say something in January, and in February, March, and April, people are laughing like that's not coming to fruition. But May and June, boom, it hits, and it's like everybody has to shut up. That happens with Rand all the time. You know what I mean? And they just both have that methodical way of just intricately putting in their content the stuff that they found out. And I can say with a lot of confidence, just a couple of driblets of things that I've gotten that I can tell that Sonny is plugged in. He's plugged in the best way you can be plugged in to an entity like Google. You know what I'm saying? So, take that however you will. That being said, he has a hell of a video. You want to watch the video. This is my response to the video. And I think what Sonny does well is he's very authentic here. He's always authentic, but he's very authentic here. And he's like, look, there are parts of this article that are just bullpucky. Like the whole 20% thing, which I haven't talked to Sonny or whatever. I did my video last night for my members, and I'm not sure if Sonny's a member or not, but it's not like we're cross-pollinating content. So again, these are from two totally different lanes. I said it last night. He's saying it in his video that whole 20% deal is bullpucky. It's bullpucky. You could have a scenario, and this is coming from me. You could have a scenario where Google, okay, so I'm gonna put it like this. 1,010%. Google has invested more in 2021 in Stadia altogether, including Stadia retail. I know because people directly affected by these things in Stadia retail have validated so. That's all I'm going to say. Significant investment in Stadia retail. Now, it is plausible that, okay, Google said, all right, we're writing a $100 million check to enhance Stadia. We're going to give 35 million, 40 million to Stadia. No, I'll use these numbers. We'll give 45 million to Stadia retail. And we're going to give 55 to 60 million to Stadia white labeling. So in that scenario, is it plausible that in that injection of investment that Stadia white label got more? Yeah, because they're playing catch up for one. And for two, Stadia white label is important to inject a revenue stream into Stadia retail. Why? Because we've seen this formula work before with Xbox. When Xbox had a difficulty of building games up internally, which that was the craze with the at the time. Xbox, where's your games? You canceled Scalebound, you canceled Fable. Like, we don't see, where the hell is Halo? Where's the new Gears? Y'all don't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? Except for Forza. Keep giving us Forza every damn year. When the craze in the console world was internal studios developing great AAA games, Xbox had none. And what they did is they injected more money into their white labeling efforts. Havoc, PlayFab, and I would be willing to argue that Minecraft, which is its own platform really. It's not simply a game. Minecraft is a platform where it's been cross-platform. The core game has been cross-platform, but now you're seeing Minecraft in education centers and all over, in libraries and all over the place. Like, Minecraft is its own platform, which for all intents and purposes is being white labeled too. It's not just a game that's multi-platform, it's in all realms of life now. They focused on those white labeling efforts, and that helped Xbox get to 10 billion in a year where Sony broke its 24-year record high and got 16 billion. And Microsoft did it with no acclaimed content that came from its studios. It did it all for third parties in its white labeling efforts. Google saw that and said, look, during the building years, this is great. This is a winning formula. Now, maybe they got a little bit ahead of themselves with SG&E, and I always thought that, and I vocalized that. I always thought that, the SG&E part didn't make sense. The stuff that Erin Hoffman-John, which I love Erin Hoffman-John, I'm glad Google has retained her. She's such a smart entity. But what Erin Hoffman-John was doing made sense to me, the whole AI thing, because what I was hoping that Google was going to do is take that whole, you only need 10 people to build a video game from the ground up and attract third party or second party development with that. I don't know if that's something that they've bottlenecked at the moment and they're going to re-pursue later. Hopefully so. But that made sense to me. I thought they were going to work with the game developers themselves instead of trying to build for a studio from the ground up. That just sounds cumbersome. You know what I mean? Just gave me a headache thinking about it. But they learned their lesson. They closed down the studio and they refocused and reinvested into the Stadia white label, into making Stadia retail better. There's a significant investment in Stadia retail that can be confirmed. Okay? I could care less what a writer for an article is trying to give you the illusion of through conjecture. I can care what some angry gamers or podcasters or whoever feel because they're just disappointed emotionally. We pivot off the facts here, and I can confirm that significant investments were made into Stadia retail. Now, were more significant investments made into the white label portion? Possibly so. And that makes sense. But at a ratio of 80 to 20%, as Sonny indicates in his video, that is laughable. It's laughable. And I'm gonna back my brother up on that based off of the credible information that I've got. It's laughable. Okay. What he also does too is he goes into this, well, who is this person that focuses on the 20%? Because they lump them together. Former and current players really hits that home. And again, me and Sonny ain't cross-pollinate nothing. This is how spot on my brother is with this stuff. And he just, he just hammered it in. Here's where the authentic part comes in. He said, look, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. Stadia and all the cloud gaming is a 1 to 2% business. And we float numbers all over the place. When I looked at numbers, it's even less than 1% right now. But that's okay. These are the early years. And with that being said, Stadia is still doing things, right? I mean, when you look at the 750,000 monthly active users, if they were able to sustain that even till now, we crunched some numbers on my show last night. We came up with a potential, if 70% were staying on Stadia Pro of that 700,000, and they were all paying $10 a month, and you look at the new revenue stream where they're doing a 70-30 split, 70% going to anybody that puts their game on Stadia Pro, depending upon logins and stuff like that. We came up with a calculation of there could possibly be, under these scenario numbers, these are just estimates, there could possibly be around $7 million in a pot. And that's nothing to sneeze at. That could, get the interest of some developers, and then you want to inject more money into that. All right. So that's where the white labeling becomes important. And that becomes important instead of you having to say, okay, we're going to give you $50 million for 3 games. You know what I mean? But I think that where he's very authentic is he said, look, this is cloud gaming, small business, small ratio of the pie. Right now, nobody has all of the AAA games that we want. I mean, when you look at it, the majority of the National Purchase Diary games, I don't want to say the majority, let me take that back. But you got more games that register on NPD. We're going to get back to looking at that scope. But you got more games that are on NPD, that are on Stadia, than anywhere else. Now, people in National Purchase Diary is NPD, and they look at all of the North American purchases of games via retail. Now, people may argue and say, well, that doesn't include the free-to-play games and all that other stuff. And, the chart-topping free-to-play games that are elsewhere, it's kind of hard to gauge its interaction and its importance over someone actually going out and buying a game. The latest and greatest games, I mean, Destiny 2 is great to look at as a free-to-play game, even though that's on Stadia, but let's pretend it's not on Stadia. And Witcher, the Witcher Queen, that had 1 million sales just for that expansion. But we're talking about games that people are buying every month. Like during that initial month that a lot of the DLC drops or expansions drop for these free-to-play games, they kind of trickle down, unless you're a Fortnite or something like that. But when it comes to these AAA games like the Ubisoft games, they stay on these charts. The EA games, the Maddens and the FIFAs, they stay on this chart. That's not something to overlook. You know what I mean? And GFN and other places have their perks too as far as their libraries are concerned. But he perfectly illustrates that none of these platforms have all the games. And don't listen just to the few of us podcasters or whatever that try to make it seem like the one platform has everything and the other platforms don't have anything. I get upset at the Stadia Reddit, but my God, if you go on the GFN Reddit, see, Reddit is just you get people complaining too. Where are the games? I'm so surprised. I mean, if you were to just listen to some of us that talk on YouTube and social media about GFN's library, you would think that, oh my God, they got everything. But when you go look at the average gamer on these platforms, they're complaining too. They don't have the games. They're missing this game. They're missing that game. Not getting this game. You know what I'm saying? So they're complaining too. So to what's it called? To Sonny's point, none of these platforms in these early years have everything, and that's okay. They're growing. Your best bet if you're clawing and scratching your skin off because of the library of any of these platforms, you're going to have to supplement it with something else. Like, as much as I love Stadia, I supplement my Stadia experience with PC and PlayStation 5. You may have to supplement your Stadia experience with the GFN experience. These platforms are not there yet to fully engage you on a solo path or unilaterally. If your aim is to have all the big blockbuster games, they're not there yet. Why? Because he references to cloud gaming being only a small portion of the pie, and they're not getting the focus from the publishers that we would like. And during a pandemic where these companies are fighting to keep the lights on, that's just the way it's going to be, even more challenging and difficult. So it's just only fathomable in these early years. Again, cloud gaming, I mean, just follow the projections. If the projections get higher, that's bigger the hopes can be. If the projections get higher, that's an indication that performance is growing. And if performance is growing and projections get higher, that's going to alarm publishers even more and say, okay, maybe we should hop in on this thing. But as long as cloud gaming is 1%, 2, 3, 4, 5% of the business, this is going to be the norm. You know what I'm saying? You do want to, and he elaborates, you do want to speak up, you do want to say something, and you do want to make sure that your voices are heard. Stadia gauged the community and said, look, what is it that you want from us? Let's get this down. Let's reconnect and redo this. We know we've been doing studies and surveys since 2020. Let's do it again. And they're going to find that most people want them AAA games. They want 60 frames per second. But I think Sonny is spot on. Don't overshoot the moon on this in the early years. They're building. This is not a you cannot put these you can't put Daddy device or primetime Daddy device expectations on these cloud gaming platforms in these early years. Jack Buser said it himself before launch. You're gonna look at these platforms, particularly Stadia, but I'm gonna extend it to all platforms at first. I'm like, nah, this ain't for me. I'm not gonna transition from my Daddy device experience. And then you're gonna come back years later and feel differently. It's gonna take years. And I'm glad that Sonny highlighted that in his video. Now, on top of that, Sonny says, temper your expectations on the games that are coming to the platform. Yeah, I mean, I would get that. I get that. And then, Ubisoft is signed on. So I think, we can pretty much expect them games to come. I think if Stadia is smart, they will definitely retain the EA business for FIFA and Madden, and then they'll work to get other games. I mean, I think that's just a smart thing to do. In the early years you're building, you don't want to go backwards. And I think a big blow, a black eye kind of in the Stadia last year, really, I think that set a lot of things off. If this didn't happen, I don't think a lot of it would have still been ire and belly aching, but I don't think it would have been as bad. I think that what caused a lot of heartache last year was the fact that the 2K series didn't 2K21 didn't show up on Stadia. That was like a step back. That was a black eye. So you don't want any more of those. You don't want, if a MotoGP don't follow up or whatever, I know there's groups of people that feel like that's a major experience, but like the biggest experience for the demographic for Stadia is going to be that Madden and that FIFA. You got to have that every year. You got to have that every year. You know what I'm saying? You got to have that every year. That's important. You know what I mean? I'm personally not in the realm as temper my expectations. I'm just not expecting the world and the stars right now because, again, I understand that there's difficulty. Like I said, I think a lot of it stems from Jason Schreier and him doing that article that really served no good. And I think that this Business Insider article is like a second attempt. the Jason Schreier article really didn't do any damage, and Stadia's doing good. Now it's starting to grow, and people are starting to write nice things about it. That guy from Forbes wrote something nice about it. Bada boom, bada bing. You know what I mean? They do this all the time. Every time Stadia seems to be getting some good traction, in comes some BS from somewhere. And the mainstream media believes it, and they gobble it all up. I like that Stadia came out and responded, though. We'll get into that a little bit because Sonny touches on that. But yeah, I wouldn't say temper your expectations, because we've seen some things in regards to games like what do you call it? Games like Dying Light 2 and Tiny Wonderland. Now, Tina's Tiny Wonderland, I don't know about that one. I think that one was more of a mistake, but I do think that there's something going on with Dying Light 2. Of course, we know it's not day and date, but I think there's something going on with Dying Light 2. So again, you're not going to get all of the AAA efforts or all of the big talked about games at the moment, or I'll say that all of the hyped up games. But I think that they're going to strive to get some of the biggest ones. You know what I'm saying? They will get the Dying Light 2s, I feel, at some point in time, like how they got the Outriders, you know what I mean, along with the Ubisoft games. And so Sonny says temper your expectations. I would say the way I would personally, and this is just me, is like, don't expect the moon and the stars. You know what I mean? You're not going to get every single hyped up game. Like a Biomutant. Who's talking about Biomutant right now? Remember when Biomutant didn't come? And people was just like, you know, that's the nail in the coffin. You're not getting Biomutant. You know what I'm saying? Even Marvel's Avengers Galaxy, you know what I'm saying? Not Marvel's Avengers, but Defenders of the Galaxy, whatever the hell that name of that game is. A lot of people, that game is critically acclaimed, but it has a short lifespan. Like, I think what Stadia is doing smartly is they're using their expertise from Phil Harrison and others to look at games that have staying power. That when you go on NPD, they're not just gonna, if you notice all of the AAA games that come on Stadia, they're games that have staying power. They're games that are not just going to pop up on NPD in 7th place the month that they launch and then just fade away immediately. They have staying power. Cyberpunk had staying power, even though it was a disappointment to many people. The Ubisoft games have staying power. EA games have staying power. Right? And the reason why Outriders even had some staying power. Maybe for a couple of months, maybe like 2 or 3 months, because it was an ongoing game. Resident Evil had staying power. Hitman had staying power. IO Interactive, they talked about how they broke records with this Hitman trilogy. Staying power. Stadia wants games if they're going to invest in AAA games, they don't want you to they don't want to blow their money on a game that you get this jolt for 5 minutes and then you're done with it. If they're going to inject this money into these games, they want games that have staying power. So I would just say, the way I would phrase it, which I'm not saying Sonny is wrong, I just look at it differently. And I would say, don't expect the moon and the stars. I think if you are going to get a AAA game, you're going to get a game with staying power. You're going to get like single player experiences with staying power, unless they're, you're not going to get the Battlefields and the Call of Duty type of the games where most of the focus is on multiplayer. You're not going to get those day and date. But the games that you could possibly get day and date or within 6 months are games that have a heavy single player component infused in them with staying power. That's the way I look at that portion. But I think Sonny's assessment is fair as well. Lastly, let's talk about Stadia's response. Stadia put a tweet out there that really satisfied the masses. It was immediate. It was quick. It got me excited when I was recording last night. It got the chat excited. I think that's what was needed. They even had to put out there that, hey, look, we got new features coming out. We can't talk about them yet, and all that other stuff. I've heard from numerous sources close that they really are looking to change some things up for the positive this year. How big those changes will be, we'll see. I'm not going to say they're going to be big changes, but they're going to change some things up for the positive, and we're going to see. And they got a feeling that we're going to really like it. You know what I'm saying? To where, we're going to be looking over at 2021 and be like, okay, this was a pivot year. I like this track that Stadia is going on. You know what I'm saying? That's the indication that I'm getting. So with that said, I'm excited for this year to see what they bring. I got even more excited to see Dying Light 2, plastered all over the websites and stuff like that, but we'll see what's going on. Right? That being said, the response they put out there was great, was good, was to the point. I'm starting to feel like this. See, Stadia went on a hiatus, and then there was that big whoop to do about Stadia not saying anything. And I think what happened was, a lot of times you'll have groups, the communication groups, they'll do like a I don't want to say a town hall, but it's like a get together, like a summit. They'll do like a summit where they break away from everything and they get together and they just hammer out what they should and should not be doing from here on out. And as a call center manager, we've had things like that, and where we've had to contact our clients and say, look, unfortunately, between the hours of 12 and 4 today, we're not going to be available. I'm sorry. I deeply apologize. You know what I'm saying? And, we leave messages and all that other stuff. And then, people will complain, well, why aren't you available? You should be available all the time. Well, sometimes you got to unplug and you got to recalibrate. And I think that's what they did. The messaging from Stadia right now, it's less of the, today is National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. Tell us someone you threw a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at while playing a video game. What video game did you play while you threw a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? It's less of that. It's less of just, hey, we're just going to put stuff out there just for engagement. And it's more focused. I feel like it's more in command. I feel like it's more confident, rather. I think that's the word I'm looking for. The messaging has a consistency to it, but I feel like there's more confidence to it. It feels like, its shoulders are up right now. You know what I mean? And where they made a good progression to where they've added Shaka to the team. She's done a hell of a job. Round of applause to her. And the communication was plentiful, was coming out there, and now I feel like it's more fine-tuned, after this revamp or summit or whatever the heck that they did, and I feel like it's more confident now. You know what I mean? The shoulders are upstanding and all other stuff, and I like it. And I like the fact that when that Business Insider article came out, they immediately came out there and communicated thoroughly and in multiple ways. Don't believe the hype. You know what I mean? So, Sonny elegantly in this video highlights all that. He does a wonderful job. And again, if you want a summary of what the biggest takeaways and all that stuff is, watch his video. I think Sonny is, nothing against anybody else here, but I think as far as, vocal footprint and ability to break this down, even for mainstream gamers, I think Sonny is the best at this. And, his videos are always great, but when you really see Sonny get into his bag, it really is wow. You know what I'm saying? And this is a great video. So this is my reaction to Sonny's video. I wanted to put this out here, and I want to urge everybody, you got to go see this video, okay? So go check it out. Sonny's video, big article claims Stadia is mostly focused on white labeling. Stadia responds to my thoughts. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. And also, too, if for some reason, if you're watching this, whether you're watching this as this member content, or if you're watching this as when it becomes public, if you haven't seen our deep dive, you definitely want to catch that. It goes into all the nooks and crannies, and it goes deep into this article, and it specifically lays out everything that's wrong with it, the things that they did get right, whatever, because it's important for you to know what the tendencies are of certain sources. And as I said last night, people sometimes pucker their lips or whatever when I say that these entities are lying. Look, where I come from, my family is from the South. They Baptist Southerners, okay? I was born and raised here in Pittsburgh, but they're Baptist Southerners. Where we come from, honesty is key. There is no embellishing on the truth, or we don't play those games, okay? Like I said, you sit there and say, well, I was trying to embellish on it. You'll get slapped. 95% of your teeth will be missing. You know what I'm saying? If you're purposely trying to confuse people or deceive people, it's lying. Okay. And the reason why I brought the Baptists in is because, look, when they open up the good book and they look into it, that's the way it's described there. A lie is when you're trying to deceive. We don't play, well, I was embellishing or I was adding artistic critique. No, if you're trying to deceive people from what's actually going on, you're lying. All right. So, it's the reason why we broke down this article as long as we did is because you got to see what these tendencies are, and you got to know the entities that you can trust, and you got to force them to do better. I feel like by us doing this and by other entities doing this with The Verge, even though they're not perfect in their Stadia reporting, it's not. Now I can digest it. Now I can read it, and now I can look at it and say, okay, well, I wasn't in total agreement of that, but I think it was fair. That was after months and months and months of hammering them on their lies, their confusion, their misinformation, and then the Stadia community growing at that, and them realizing, hey, look, we can't be in this circle that just wants to beat up on Stadia because it's fun. This is going to bite us in the butt in the long run, right? And now you're getting a lot more responsible, fair stuff from The Verge. That's all we asked for. It could get better, but that's all we asked for. Not this just non-vetted, over-the-top, sensationalized, let's kick Stadia around type of articles over and over again. You know what I mean? So we thought it was important to do that. All right. So with that said, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.